Hello, hello. I'm 4 minutes late. And, hey, welcome. Welcome. If anybody's out there. And, happy Sunday to you. Coffee time, of course. See anybody in the chat yet? There's Oscar. Oscar, you're first. What's up? How you doing? Can you hear me okay, Oscar? Tell me that. I hooked up a external mic today. Hopefully it's not in mono. Or sorry, hopefully it's not just in the left speaker. That's what I'm trying to say. So let me know if it sounds like it's coming out of both your speakers or whatever you're listening on. There is Alex King. What's up, Alex? How you doing? Somebody says, what do I think about John Mayer? I think John Mayer's great, actually. Too many people can stand up there. I'll tell you a good John Mayer story to start the event today. John Mayer, a friend of mine, Michael Chavez, was playing guitar with him many years ago. And this is, man, it's got to be 12 years ago or something at least. But anyway, he was doing a gig in New York City, and he invited me to go to the gig. It was at a park somewhere in Midtown. I can't remember where, but great big gig. There's like 6,000 people in this park or whatever waiting for John Mayer to go on. It was pouring rain, absolutely pouring rain, like torrential downpour. And so I was backstage, and I'd never met John before, but they were standing around having a little meeting, trying to figure out what to do. And a guy ran into the backstage area and said, look, we just lost the monitor console, because it's like literally, it's like torrential downpour and all these people are waiting for him to go on. So the monitor console is not working. I can give you a couple of wedges from front of house, but that's it. Like, and the whole band was going to play. And Mayer says, okay, I'll go do it solo. And I'm going to go out there and, I'll just go out and play solo with the wedges or whatever. And he said, and I'm going to give him a show too. That's what he said, like real confident. I was like, shit, like he's got, monitors are gone. He doesn't even know what the mix is going to sound like. It's just going to be wedges from front of house. And he went out and played. And in the pouring rain, he just threw down, man. Acoustic guitar, his voice, about 6,000 people. Everybody thought they were going to see a full band show. And nobody walked away unhappy. I don't think he did a whole set. The weather was so terrible, but he killed it. And I was like, man, how many people can do that? They just walk out in front of a crowd like that with acoustic guitar. And so that happened. And then afterwards we went to the W in Union Square and had a drink. And then he said, let's go for sushi. You want to go for sushi? And it was just me and Michael and him and a couple other people. And I was like, yeah, definitely. So we went to Nobu, and he bought me sushi, and we sat around and talked about guitars and amps all night. And I thought, this guy's he's a nice guy, and he was just like a regular guy talking guitar, and he'd just thrown down in front of all those people in the pouring rain and sort of rescued a gig. He wasn't even fazed by the whole, okay, no problem, I'll go out and do the solo, it's cool, and I'm going to give him a show. That's what he said. It was good. So I had a newfound respect for him in that moment. I've always remembered that. Anyway, okay, what else? Look for some questions. Let's see. Plus, anybody that takes me out for sushi, come on now. Have I experimented with different tone block materials? I've seen, this is from Andrew Grant, I've seen various players switching to titanium tremolo parts. I have a titanium block here that somebody sent me, and I haven't even tried it, and I feel bad about that. I only have a few guitars with Floyd Roses, and I don't know. I just these are things that it might be great. I don't know. I haven't really experimented with it. These are things that we just didn't worry about back in the day. The original Floyd Rose was like, we'd put it on, it worked, and we just used it. And it's like, I guess there's just so many new things coming out all the time. How do you keep up with trying all this different stuff, Because then you got to take your guitar to the tech, and you're without it for a little while, and it costs you, $100 or whatever to get the new block put on, set up. I guess I could do it myself. I don't know, but it's like there's so much stuff to do in life. I do have this block though, and I should try it. Somebody sent it to me, so you're making me feel guilty. I gotta put the titanium block on. No, Just kidding. Let's see here. Any chance we could get a clip of your plexi with the "You Really Got Me" preset in the aux? Dude, it's really good, I have to say. Like, it's the aux. We should talk about that today because it's great. But one of the nicest things about the aux is that plate reverb. It sounds delicious. It's just smooth, and the tail is gorgeous on the reverb. So it's I love that thing. I really do. I barely had a chance to I've got a demo coming out that I finished yesterday. That'll be the first thing that I kind of do with it, but it was for a distortion pedal. It's a real heavy, kind of crunchy sound, so that's the one thing that I've kind of done with it. But it does sound like pretty damn cool on that. Any advice on how to work with sound guy for live gigs? Last couple times, this is from Aaron Love. Last couple times I was asked to turn down to whisper quiet volumes without a monitor mix. Well, wow, and you played a Princeton for one. I know it's hard. This is a real problem. And my suggestion is always this, that you have a little meeting before the sound check or something, and you just say, okay, look, this is the way that we would like to do this, if this makes sense. Can the drummer just play on stage? And then what I want to do is listen to the drums, and you can even stand in front of the stage while you're playing your guitar to make sure it's kind of at ear level, the amp. Say, I just want to turn up my amp to be like the same level as the drums, if that's okay. And then have the bass player do the same thing. And just, kind of like in a very diplomatic way, this has kind of been my approach lately. It's like, is it okay if we all just kind of balance our stage volume around the drum kit? And nobody should be louder than the drums, but I want to be able to hear myself with the drums without a monitor. Maybe you tilt your amp or do whatever you've got to do, but it's just like, can we just get a nice balanced sound with no, like old school, like you would in a rehearsal studio or in your garage when you didn't have a PA, right? Everybody just turned their amp up to the level where it was like you could hear yourself with the drums, and then it's cool. And you put the vocals in a little PA or something. Just like that sort of mentality. And then the PA should fill in after that. And if a sound guy doesn't understand that, then I don't know what to say. It's a problem these days with everybody thinking they got to run their amp on a half or on one or something. And then the drummer starts playing, you're like, I can't hear at all. And that just doesn't make sense to me. So as my Canadian, Spock-like logical brain says, this is illogical. So just the approach at sound check for me. And also the other thing is that when you start a sound check, sometimes before the drummer even plays, the guy's like, let me hear the guitar for a second. You play it, we're going to need to turn that down. No, dude, just can we not just hear the most mid-range, heavy, like kind of like abrasive sound in the band, which is the guitar, like separate from the whole band before we decide what's loud and what's not? Because yeah, it's going to sound loud, but as soon as that drummer starts playing, and as soon as the bass player kicks in, it's like it's not loud anymore. So just like, just be like, can I just play with the guys and balance my, it's not like the guy doesn't have levels on his console. He can sit there and look at where the drums are at coming to the, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, balance the whole thing so that it's like equal, and use your ears for God's sakes. That's the only other thing I would say to sound guys is listen to the thing and decide if, when I go see bands and it's like the kick drum is blasting through and the vocals are screaming, but I can't hear the keyboards or the guitar. I'm just like, dude, what the hell are you listening to? Like, pretend it's a record playing through the music that plays between bands through the PA system between sets. Listen to that, and then listen to what the band sounds like. It should be relatively close to sort of the same balance of stuff. All right, I went on a tangent. Sorry. But that really is my approach these days, is where it's like, look, if we can get the whole band balanced around the drums, maybe the drummer plays with brushes really quiet, and then you have to play or blast sticks or whatever, and then you got to play quiet like that. But if the drummer's using sticks, and just be like, look, I just want to be the same level as this on stage. So like I don't have to rely on a monitor if there isn't any, and then you can hear yourself over the goddamn snare drum, right? Okay. Anyway. How is the aux going? Says Matthew. I love the thing so far. I love it. Love it. It's elegant and lovely. It just works like a charm. Do I keep a regular practice routine? No. I don't. I wish I did, man. I'm so scattered, to be honest. Me personally, I have this ability to focus on a project when I'm working on it. be it recording a song or writing a song and tracking it, or maybe I sit down to learn something like a solo or a song group of songs for a tour, and I get in this mode where I can focus very clearly. But as far as maintaining some sort of regular practice schedule or any kind, like I swear to God, I've got ADHD or whatever. I'm just scattered the way that my brain goes, and then if I have something I need to focus on, I can focus on it like laser beam. But keeping a routine, be it anything, eating, working out, practicing guitar, I don't know. I'm like hopeless when it comes to that. Can I get the Thornbucker pickups with the gold cover? Yes, you can now. We decided that well, they sort of decided without asking me. But I was fine with it. It's like, it's no secret that I prefer the nickel covers because they don't affect the tone, and gold is the worst offender. You're going to notice a little bit of dulling of the top end with the gold covers, but still going to sound cool. Turn the treble up on your amp a bit, I guess, you know. Have I tried the Moore Radar Cab Sim? I know it's great. I've seen some videos on it. I haven't tried it. I do have one that I'm, this week, hopefully I'll get to doing a video with some of the Moore stuff. That this guy sent me a few things, and that'll be one of the things. What's the one pedal I couldn't do without? Stupid chat window jumped up. I'm going to go back, find out where I was. Getting better at this. Finding it when it blasts all the way to the end and then going back. Okay, so what's the one pedal that you couldn't do without, or the smallest rig I'd gig with? The smallest rig I'd gig with? It depends on the band. I mean, the smallest rig I ever gigged with was an Axe FX. You know, just an Axe FX and a MIDI pedal, I guess. Or the Kemper, you know. That was small. But, you know, everything's, I'd be happy to do certain gigs with just like my Bella, for instance, like a 112 combo. That'd be fine. I've done gigs with just the Badger 18 and a 112. I kind of like having at least 30 watts for gigs, I find, is what I like. I know with some bands, like I see some people play out and they're using a deluxe reverb or something, or even like a Princeton, like the fella said before. The Princeton's a nice thing. It's a beautiful sounding little amp. But for me, for headroom and the guitars I'm playing and stuff, I find generally 30 watts is a nice, so like the Badger 30 and a 212 cabinet, that works really well with some pedals. I've done stuff, with that and gotten some cool tones. How often do I play my Gibson Explorer? Never these days. And I did used to use it with Chris Cornell. Could I also talk about my rig when I played with him? Well, okay, so the Explorer, I really want to put different pickups in because it's a dark sounding guitar. It's got a lot of mids, and I'm not happy with the pickups that I've had in it. So just some Thornbuckers or something I should pop in there and get some more clarity out of the guitar and set it up again and stuff, because it's in kind of a state of disrepair at the moment, actually. Kind of reminding me I need to do that, like maybe take that to the tech and just have pickups put in and have a guitar set up. My rig with Chris started out as being divided by 13, the Voxy one, the RSA 31, I believe, and I would A/B that with my Comet Concord. So that was my first rig with him, and then I added another amp. I added for a little while another divided by that was like a Marshall, and then I switched to 5150, EVH 5150. So that was kind of so for the first part of the tour, I believe, God, it's hard to remember, but I think I was just using the 2 amps, and then I switched to 3 amps, and kind of what I would do is go clean dirty between the RSA 31 and the 5150, let's say, or the Comet, or when I added the 3rd amp, I would go RSA 31 to the 5150, and then I would switch in on top of the 5150 a 3rd amp for solos. And Yogi was doing the same thing, where he was using an AC30 divided by 13, and then he would switch in a Fender Tone Master for solos. So we both had like a louder solo sound that would really go on top of the band, because instead of just adding a pedal or something, we were actually switching in a second distorted amp. So we were both running 2 amps for solos, and so that was cool. And I used G System, for my effects controller and kind of changing things and switching between amps and stuff. I had a MIDI AB box on the pedal board that I could AB amps with. I can't even remember how I switched into the third amp, but what did I have for pedals? Like a Phase 90, I used a Roto machine a lot for like Black Hole Sun and stuff. I was using a Line 6 Roto machine, which always was a great rotary pedal, sounded good. I used an Echo Park, and I was running all the effects in front of the amp back then. What else? I had some other stuff on there, but I had a box of rock that I used for like light gain kind of stuff and clean boost. That was cool. And then eventually around mid 2008, I started switching over. Got the PT100, the very, very first custom audio version. I switched to that. And right away, while I did that, I went to a wet dry wet rig. So then I had 3 412s with an H&H power amp. I had all kinds of power amps actually for a little while and before I settled on the H&H. But yeah, basically I would run the PT100, take a tap off the line coming out of the amp going to the dry center cabinet, a tap off that went into a mixer, and then I could blend in. I was using the Axe Effects, original Axe Effects standard, and I would use it for stereo effects in the wet cabinets. And then I used some variation of that. I went to 112s eventually for the wet cabinets because it was just too big having 3 412s up there. And that was a whole long sort of wet, dry, wet period of my life that maybe I wish I hadn't done. But it was a kind of a convoluted rig. But it did sound cool. Like, you know, when I watched the old shows and stuff like that, it sounded cool. It was just like, you know how it is. Those crazy guitar players go down different roads. What do I think of the Boss Katana Artist? I haven't tried it. Did I try one of those little katanas? I think I did once. Boss makes good little amps. I mean, they're, you know, as far as their amps go, their little practice amps are my favorite things. My little mini cube was cool. Micro cube, a little modeling thing for $100. I liked it. Yeah, Sir said Thornbuckers can come with any cover. Yeah, you can order them with any cover you want. Just knowing we recommend the nickel for the purest tone. Nickel almost sounds like there's no cover on the pickup. What amp does not take pedals well, and what does that actually mean? Well, AC30 top boost is a tough one with pedals. And the reason is because of the top boost circuit. Anything with a bright cap, like a deluxe reverb, or certain Marshalls, can be tough. Anything with like an aggressive bright cap that makes the amp nice and sparkly when it's clean, but you hit it with a pedal and it sounds like a swarm of bees. So many times amps with no bright cap, the bright cap is something that goes on the volume of an amp, and what it's designed to do is let more highs through when the volume is set lower on the amplifier. So like certain Fenders have them. Fenders with bright switches, all that bright switch is a switchable bright cap. So certain ones like the Deluxe, they don't have that, the bright switch. It's just on all the time. Talking about original ones here because they've got various iterations of it now that don't have them, like the 68, you know, the silver face one they make now and stuff. That's got no bright caps. Kind of made for pedals, really, I think. But anyway, that bright cap, what happens is it's letting highs bleed through, and other stuff's getting attenuated as you're turning the volume down. So you're running the volume on 1 or 2 or 3 on the amp. All the highs are going through to the power section, but the other stuff's not. So it sounds nice and bright and chimey at lower levels. And then as you turn it up, more of the signal's coming through, and the bright cap becomes less of a thing. As you get the amp all the way up to 10, it's out of the circuit, basically. It's not doing anything at that point. Not out of the circuit, but it's just, you know, all the frequencies are coming through at that point. So, yeah, essentially, like for example, like my little AC15 has the normal channel, and it's got the top boost channel. Well, the normal channel is great with pedals. It has a bright switch on it, so it's confusing to me because the bright switch on the normal channel doesn't, I can still run pedals into it, and it sounds great. Maybe it's just the way it's tuned or whatever. But top boost circuit is notorious for being difficult. Top boost AC30 style circuit. You got to be careful what pedals you use. But generally when people say amps don't take pedals well, I think that's the issue. It's just as simple as that. It's like got stuff to do with the bright circuit in amplifiers. Certain bright circuits, bright caps causes problems. Oscar says, always love to listen to you. God, I'm glad somebody does. I hope I don't just sound like a rambling fool. You're one of the best, and thanks for helping us. Oh, man. I'm happy you're here. And keep doing the Tim and Pete show. Yes, we've been sort of slacking off, I know, and we haven't done a lot lately. The last one was the one we did with George Trips, but we just filmed one 2 days ago with Laura Basilio, and we had a great time. And so I should be getting that out maybe next week. I can get it done get it up on Thursday. We generally put them up on Thursdays. How do I like the Crybaby Mini? It's cool. It sounds great. It's a little weird with the foot to get used to, but it's cool. It's fine. I'm not like a big wah aficionado, and it works fine for my wah needs, and I can make it work even though it's just a little bit of a strange thing getting used to the smaller pedal, but that's just learning, you know. How do I think Thornbuckers would sound in an Ibanez RG with an ash body? I don't really know. I mean, probably ash is a little more scooped sounding. It's going to be kind of a bright, sort of like, you know, cool sort of hollow tone on the neck pickup, I would think. The bridge pickup will sound good, just about anything. It's PAF. Can I talk a bit about these new saddles on the Ocean Turquoise Signature? Well, okay, so this is a bridge that I know Sir was talking to Wilkinson for quite some time, and Sir's had ideas about what was wrong with the traditional sort of tremolo and why, you know, where the tuning instability lies and stuff like that. So anyway, Trev Wilkinson's been working on this bridge, and I don't have the guitar here actually. I left it at the studio, but anyway, the concept being that the strings through the block like a regular, you know, traditional Fender style tremolo or whatever, and comes across the saddle. And there's a very elegant, very simple way, once you've got the guitar set up, stretched, and everything, to lock that string in the saddle. Still going through the block, come in, you don't cut the ball end off or any of that stuff like a Floyd Rose. You simply lock the string down at the saddle. And it pretty much works like a charm. So as long as you got a guitar with an exceptional nut and locking tuners, wow. It's like, for me, you know, it's that approach of just being able to kind of use the bar fearlessly, and you're going to stay in tune. Also just bending and stuff like that. Most of what I've come to realize is if the nut's good on your guitar, and if you got locking tuners, if you're still having some tuning issues, it's all at the bridge. It's all slippage over the saddle and string getting stuck, you know, if you're bending or using the bar. So yeah, it's a bit of it's pretty exciting. Now it just remains to be seen a little bit about availability. There's gonna be some people that just don't ever want to deal with the lock thing too. So, you know, we're just debating, but we're just kind of evaluating all that stuff right now. But it's an exceptional. Of course, here's the thing I haven't even mentioned is the tone. It sounds exactly like a, you know, traditional sort of 2-point fulcrum style bridge. There's no. You know, if there's people that think that Floyd's affect the tone or whatever, it sounds fantastic. So it's full and, you know, rings like crazy, and just it's solid. So he did a great thing. Now just production and stuff like that. See what they can come up with, you know. But it's really cool. Really cool. Thoughts on using a model amp with the UA aux? Well, I don't know if there's any way to do that. I wouldn't do that. There's no way to, I mean, really, there's no line in on the thing, I don't think. So you kind of have to use the load box, like it's meant to run an amp into, is what I'm getting at. How would I compare my Nags to my Les Paul Custom? Similar in some ways. My Nags is pretty heavy. And it does have a great aggressive rock tone. That red Nags I have, the Steve Stevens. It's really good for like heavy stuff, but it's got the, you know, more aggressive pickups in it and stuff too. So it's hard to say, but it's a really good solid like bitchin' rock guitar. You know, it's not the same as like my like a Yaren or something with the airy thing going on. It's not like that, but it's cool for aggressive stuff. So yeah, I would actually say between my Les Paul Custom and the Nags, that's actually a pretty good comparison there. They're probably the two closest guitars I have as far as the depth and the kind of, my Les Paul Custom's also not a light guitar. It's not a real heavy one. The Nags isn't real heavy, but they both are similar weight. Got to be like at least 9.5 pounds, maybe a little more. So there's a certain thing with that tone. It like works well for distortion, I think. Sometimes the heavier guitars, like a deep thing. Have I had a chance to play La Boga amps? I have not. I have not. Can you use the aux as a power amp into a speaker cab, says Queen Lizzie? No, it's not a power amp. It's an attenuator and a reactive load box, reactive attenuator, but there's no power in it, so you can't use it as a power amp. But you can plug your amp into it and turn the amp down with it and plug into a speaker cabinet. So it's attenuating some of the level of the amplifier and then letting some of the signal through to the speaker. You can do that with it. But you can't reamp with it. There's no effects loop in it or anything like that, you know, because you'd need another power amp to do that. We have 335 people online. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. L. Scott Music says, I was thinking that the aux stereo out would feed the Aspen Pittman Design space station really good. I don't know what that is. Is that his active kind of full range speaker that he's been telling me about? When I see him, he's very excited about it. I've seen him at parties and things, like birthday party Lawaga at Sunset Sound for oh my God, I'm forgetting his name. That's terrible. Producer Warren Hewitt, his birthday party, and I saw Aspen there, and he was talking about it. Yeah, I mean, any kind of it should feed the output. Yeah, like into a full range speaker. Like I haven't tried it yet, but like I've got my little atomic monitors. I should try it with that. It's a killer way to listen to your amp, actually. And I was thinking that it's like this could be like a way, like you just add your full range speaker of choice and plug your amp into this thing, and maybe you don't need a guitar cabinet like, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's nothing new. People have been doing that for a while, but it just sounds so good, and being able to add the effects, the post effects and stuff, and sit there and play through like a full range, I don't know, pretty damn cool. Sure sounds good through my studio monitors. What's my favorite preamp to use, like mic preamp, when I track guitars? I use a few. I have a BAE Dual 1073 that I've been using now for a year and a half or something like that, and I love that. It's just kind of a no-brainer. Just sounds thick and cool, just neaves. And then I also have this Maris pre called the 440, I believe it's called, and it's so awesome. It's basically like an API style pre, but it's got an effects loop built in. So you can run like pedal effects even if you're like recording a vocal, so that's really cool. But it's kind of made for guitar players. So in other words, the neat thing is you could run a Plexi or something, or a Deluxe Reverb or something that doesn't have an effects loop in it, and you could run a delay pedal in loop, let's say. So you want to use your delay, like you're in Memory Man or something with your Plexi, but it's too dirty running through it, or your reverb pedal or whatever. You can't run it right into the amp, but you can run after the microphone using the Maris pre. Just insert the pedal right there in the mic pre, and then mix it into the sound, then send the sound out to your recorder. Really cool. And the Maris also has nice features as far as like simple EQ. It's got like a 4K or 7K boost for the top end, and then a simple thing for the low end. You can roll off low end with it. It just sounds great, and it's inexpensive. I think they're $400 or $500 or something, which for a mic pre is nothing. 500 series style, so you need to get a 500 series rack. But they made it for recording guitar. Really, really nice mic pre for guitar. So good job, Maris. Like it. Okay. In smaller gigs, there's pressure for players going direct, no amp. Is this a thing that's happening on high-profile gigs? Yeah, sometimes. Do I think eventually everyone will go digital? No, not everyone. I also think there's sort of a movement with players to just use simple amps. Like that's been a thing where if I go to clubs or whatever, you just see people using Deluxes or Princetons or whatever, like combos, that's kind of a movement too, pedals and combos is like a whole thing now with bands. I don't see, to be honest, when you go in LA or something, you go to the Hotel Cafe, there's not a lot of people plugging in the modeling things into the PA or something. That's not something I see like around town. I see amps with pedals. It's more like on tours, or maybe if you go to Vegas or something, you're in the casino, or like a fixed installation kind of gig, that sort of thing. Then you see people maybe using the modeling stuff because it's a little more complicated. If you're getting up and down, 4 bands a night in a club or whatever, the sets, I don't see a lot of people doing the modeling thing. Here's my DI out, well, what are we doing? It's like, we got 15 minutes to change over bands. You don't see that really. It's a different thing. So I don't know, there's all kinds of ways to do things now. As far back as 2013, I did a tour with, 4 or 5 years ago or whatever, 4 years ago, I did a tour with Milan Farmer and used my heads into, load boxes, and then added IRs and did that kind of stuff. And that one big tour. The other guitar player in the band, he was using a cab and an isolation thing under the stage. I could have done that too, I guess, but I just went with the load boxes. Okay. One thing that really helps is just to go in and, like I say, like at sound checks and stuff like that, if people are giving you a hard time, just be super polite and just try and make sense, like be logical with people, as opposed to just turning up your amp and then they go, oh, it's too loud. Oh, no, you're in a fight or whatever. Just say, hey, would it be okay if we, would you mind if, we just listen to the drums, and then if I just turn up my amp, I promise I won't play louder than the drummer, but can I just get my amp to a nice level where I can hear it with the drums on stage? That would make me feel comfortable, and we'll work together on it. Say something like that, and that tends to work pretty well, I find. Back on that again. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I sound so busy all the time. Do I take free time or vacations? Man, I honestly, I thought a lot like recently about the way I spent my 20s, where maybe I wasted a lot of time, but I used to do like day trips and go like, I'm in LA, so I used to go to Big Bear, or sometimes I just like screw off to San Francisco for the weekend or something. Just get in the car and drive and have fun, and I haven't done a lot of that lately. I'm happy working all the time. I love working. I love going in the studio and just being like, I couldn't be happier, like just holding up for 12 hours by myself, recording music and going into that hole is really fun for me. But then I think like, why don't I just go to Santa Barbara like most people for the day? I live in LA. Like just get out of town for a minute and enjoy yourself for 48 hours or, I don't know. It's just something I'm thinking about a lot lately, that I should take some more time and just enjoy. Something about getting older too. It's like, you feel the pressure of time closing in on you and trying to get things done, accomplish things. I think I wasted a lot of time in I found an old, like, I used to journal. I forgot I even did it, but like in the 90s, write things. And I found a notebook here the other day that from like 1994 where I was writing things down. And, just like journaling where you're like writing your thoughts and what you did that day. And it's kind of crazy and almost weird and like fascinating to look back on that stuff. But one of the things I was saying is I think I waste a lot of time, like maybe I'm wasting too much time. And maybe I did in my 20s, like screwing off. But hey, I had a good time, so. Let's see. Almost the last 10 gigs I've seen here in Denver, guitarists have gone into the PA. That's really interesting. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Like even in clubs and stuff? Like just people running direct, huh? It's really interesting. It's a... I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about it. I just don't want the guitar to turn into a keyboard. I know it works for some gigs, but I don't want it to be the way that it happens all the time. Because Jimi Hendrix wouldn't have sounded like Jimi Hendrix running just into the PA. So that's my only worry. My pet peeve, this is coming from Mike, says a kick drum that completely obliterates the bass guitar. Can't usually discern the bass unless the drums stop. Yeah, that sucks. I agree. Great bass tone. Maybe Tom Abraham's out there because he was watching my live stream once. And I was giving him props, and he was like, hey, I can't believe you, But I went to see him, like he was mixing Alice in Chains, and, ooh, the bass guitar on the PA, man. Like, Tom's like, I want to do a tour with you sometime, Tom, if you're watching, because, man, you mix the shit out of a band. But, yeah, the bass should sound great in the PA, too. You're right. I don't know. Certain sound... people, you know, it's such an issue, man, because you got this one guy that's the overall filter on your entire thing, you know, like the whole show, all your rehearsing, whatever you've done to get to that point, and here's one guy. It's got like, you know, all the power to make it work or make it not, you know, and I don't know, it's tough. It's tough. We don't want to lose the. I love, you know, the Government Mule guys, because that band, they play loud as shit on stage, but they control it with their playing because they're such stellar players. So they're not playing loud all the time, but the amps are up loud. There's a lot of horsepower there in reserve, and then they control it with their musical dynamics because they play music. They're so musical, you know, their hands. And then the PA just fills in around the band, you know, and that's my, you know, it's just makes for a dynamic, awesome musical experience. Yeah. Hello from Banff, says Mark. Oh, man. See, there's where I want to go. I just want to take like 4 or 5 days, fly to Calgary, go for like 3 days to Banff and just chill. But maybe in the summer. Beautiful in the winter, but it's cold. Man, I miss that place. Banff is, if nobody out there's been to Banff, Alberta, it looks like Switzerland. It's one of the most beautiful places on earth. It's as beautiful as Switzerland, if not more so. And I grew up 4.5 hours from there. And, you know, maybe I didn't appreciate it as a kid. I mean, we used to drive there on vacation all the time. You know, it's just one of the most beautiful places. Let's see here. L. Scott Music says, yeah, there is a saying, do what you love and never work a day in your life. That's true. I don't really feel like I'm working. But I do feel like sometimes I'm missing out on just chilling, because I can get lazy. I love it. I love being lazy and going to the, you know, I miss going to Hawaii. I used to go to Hawaii a lot a few years ago, and I actually really miss it. Just going to North Shore and relaxing. Okay, let's see here. The chat moved around, so I'm just trying to find my place. Find a good question here. Sorry, one sec. Do I use just my ears when improvising, or do I have plans set out beforehand? Well, I've been trying to get a little bit more into thinking when I'm playing and not just using my ears and my sort of where I visually know I should go on the fingerboard. But I didn't come from a jazz background, so, you know, I wish I got to get a little bit more into one of the things I want to practice is improvising and being a little bit more tuned in to here's the chords that are coming and these are the notes you should be playing, or if you don't want to play those notes, moving, you know what I mean? Just the way that a little bit more studied musicians kind of approach it. So I'm trying to do more. Improvising is my weak spot. It really is. So how do I visualize the fretboard when I improvise, says Eric. The different question that's right underneath. So sometimes it scales, sometimes I think about the chord tones a lot, or at least I try to these days. So as chords are going by, I'm trying to visualize the you know, chord or arpeggio shapes, so that I can see the target notes that I know will be the safe ones to land on, and then you can make the decision to move around those as you wish. I asked Scott Henderson once, like, man, how do you play outside so effortlessly? And he goes, man, sometimes he goes, he knows the fingerboard like really well, extraordinarily well. But he said sometimes I just put my fingers where I know they're not supposed to be. And I thought, oh, that's so cool. I can get with that. That's simple, you know. So sometimes if I want to sound like purposely outside, and it always works, I just move a half step away from where I'm supposed to play. And like, so if I know I'm supposed to be in a certain scale position or whatever, I'll literally go a half step sharp and play for a minute and then slide back down. And it just, people are like, whoa, you know, ooh, listen to you getting all, and I literally like have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm just playing the notes where I'm putting my fingers where I know they're not supposed to go for a second. And then trying to, you know, sneakily come back and make it sound like I meant exactly every note that I was doing. Triads, caged, 3 notes per string. Yeah, I saw that, the whole cage thing, triads. Yeah, for all that. Triads, caged, 3 notes per string, chord shapes. Yes, if you can see the chords, you're always safe, because then you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, then you know, like, for example, you know, something simple like an E minor, you know, you can see the open 3 strings, right? You're good with the open, you know, G, B, and E strings being, and then let's say you're going to go to a C chord, right? Well, now all you got to do is be able to visualize that triad with the C on the B string at the 1st fret, right? You know, that's a safe note. Or if you're up in the 12th position, you know, so you can visualize that when you're moving to the C. Know that, oh, it'd be nice to land on that C sometimes. I visualize those little, you know, the little triads of. That's it. You know, that's all it is. And then beyond that, it's just extensions and being able to see it. Low cost JCM 800 style amp from Chris. Low cost JCM 800 style. Well, for really low cost, you could seek out one of those old Laney AOR heads. Weren't those the ones made in the 80s? Those were JCM 800s basically, I think. You probably find them used for like $300 these days or something, if you could find one. And that'd probably be in a state of disrepair and it would need work. For a newer amp, I think the PV Windsor, wasn't that 800 style? I think so, and they were cheap. There's a couple suggestions. Let's see. A single coil size neck humbucker that'll pair nicely with a Thornbucker Plus. Single coil size neck humbucker. Single coil sized. I don't know, maybe a little 59? Single coil size neck humbucker. So you don't mean like a stack, you mean like a. I mean, there's only a few out there. The little 59 would be the one that I would probably go for. Let's see here. What do I think of modifying a Fender Jaguar? 2 humbuckers with some Thornbuckers probably be great. That'd be a cool guitar. 2 humbucker Jaguar, that'd be a cool instrument. I want to get a Jaguar because I love Johnny Marr. I just want to get like one of those, you know, Sherwood Green. Just I'd love a Jaguar actually. It's not a guitar I've ever wanted, and then I became a Johnny Marr fan. I'm like, oh, now I want one of these. I think you and Andy Wood should do a tour together. He'd shred my ass into the ground every night. That'd be scary. I love Andy. He's so good. I watched a great video of him playing mandolin the other day, doing kind of a lesson, where the camera's on the neck of the, on Facebook, cameras on cameras right on the strings, so you can see his picking hand as he's playing, and he's talking about some interesting concepts and stuff in it. It was cool. Let's see. Jennifer says, it seems there are now a bunch of products doing similar things for direct or quiet recording, the aux, the 2-note stuff, etc. Do I think any of them sound that different, or it's a matter of ease? Well, they do sound different if you compare the different load boxes. You know, my favorite up to this point has been the Sur, but as long as it's a reactive load, they're all pretty good from what I've found. But the Sur is exceptional in sounding like a cabinet. So the question is, you know, it's not like which load box sounds best to me. It's like which one sounds like a cabinet loading the amp. Best isn't part of the equation for me. It's like the best is the one that sounds like the speaker cabinet, because I want to get the amp to respond like it's plugged into the speaker cabinet. So that's all I'm concerned with there, you know. And then beyond that, you're adding IRs or doing whatever you're doing. So do I think any of them sound that different? Well, so with the two notes in the UA, I suppose, are the most similar in that they've integrated the IR or speaker modeling or whatever you want to call it into the load box, and it's all part, and there's a software suite that you can kind of use with these devices and stuff. So I haven't explored the latest 2-note stuff that much, to tell you the truth, as far as the wall of sound and whatever they're doing now with that and stuff, and the latest cabinets and stuff. I haven't really tried it. I just got the aux, and I'm knocked out by the integration of the software and the hardware. It's elegant and it's amazing. So hey, I'll just ask you really quick. The fan is going full speed on my computer right now, but I'm using an external microphone today. So let me know if it sounds better to you guys. If it's, you know how there's that like air blowing kind of crazy sound, but I'm using another a dedicated microphone today, so hopefully it's better so that you don't hear the fan on the computer. So somebody let me know if it sounds okay. Yeah. So Jennifer's question, is it a matter of ease? Well, certainly there's a little bit more complexity if you're using something like the SIR, and then you got to get a separate, plug-in going with the IRs, get the IRs from Celestion. It's not as integrated, right? You're doing a bit more of a piecemeal kind of approach, whereas with the aux, it's all integrated, but you're paying for that. So you can go one way with it and do the SIR, and for around probably $500, you've got a setup that's pretty damn cool, and it's awesome. With the aux, it's a lot more dough, but it's integrated and it's elegant and it's beautiful. So I can get great results out of either, honestly. It's just like there's something amazing about the aux and what they've done. They've done a beautiful thing with it. The SIR is very simple, and it does what it does extremely well. It's like an industry standard as far as the load boxes go, as far as I'm concerned. So both are, it's just different ways to get from point A to point B. Honestly, I really don't know like what's better for most people. You have to take into account cost and all kinds of things, Some people might want to use something like the SIR with an analog, they might want to use the ACE with it or something, just an analog speaker sim and be done with it, They want to deal with digital or whatever. So there's that whole crowd too. Once again, you ask yourself, what's important to me? What kind of person am I? Is there a wiring diagram for your Thornbucker someplace? I would say contact, I believe, God, I'm not 100% sure on this, I should know this, but I think the colors probably match the Seymour Duncan sort of arrangement, where I'm talking totally up my ass right now, but the green and the ground would be, the green and the silver, would be the ground, and then the red and I'm not going to get this. Red and the white, you would tie together, and the black would be the hot, I think. But you better contact customer service at SIR and ask them for that. It's just cs@sir.com. CS, customer service at sir.com. Ask them for a wiring diagram for the Thornbucker. For all their pickups should be the same. The 4-conductor pickups should be the same. Okay. Thanks for the advice and answering my question, says Aaron. Not sure if it's a new world of stage sound, but it kills the enjoyment. I agree. Just the sound guy stuff and, having to run direct. It's like, and that's the most important thing, and that's the conversation that everybody needs to be having. It's like, look, we're just not that kind of band. We want to have some fun up here. We're a little bit more traditional. It's like, take a band like Greta Van Fleet, right? Like they sound like Zeppelin or whatever. Are they going to go into a place and the guy's going to tell them to turn the guitar off and or Vintage Trouble or one of these bands, right? It's like, no, dude, sorry, but we're like Zeppelin, We're like The Who. Remember those bands? That's what we do, so we got to work that way. And it's like, you can't have some dude in a club or whatever tell you that your whole thing is wrong. It's like, I remember seeing a guy in a club with a sound guy once, and the sound guy was going, you can't hit the cymbals like that. You can't, and he was in a fairly big band that had come in to play through. He's like, you can't hit, you need to hit the cymbals less hard. And the guy goes, dude, excuse my language, but he's like, dude, if I hit the cymbals like you're telling me, I'd get fucking fired. Like he just, and I was like, that's it. It's like, you can't dictate to these bands what they're supposed to be doing creatively. It's like, he's a basher, and that's part of the band's sound. And all that sound guy's job is to do is just kind of deal. Now, I understand that there's knuckleheads 24/7. They come in, they turn up way too loud. That happens too. So we got to be sort of cognizant of the fact that they're dealing with less than stellar musicians a lot, and they can get jaded pretty quick, So you got to approach them with kid gloves and be like really polite and but explain to them like, this is the kind of band we are, And as long as you're good, like if you're good, it'll all be okay at the end of the day. That's what I've found, If you're, if you get up there and you throw down, they're not going to care if you're loud. For the most part, that's what I found. I've never seen, the end of a great gig where the crowd went crazy and the band kicked ass and it was awesome. The sound guy comes up after, he goes, you were too damn loud on. That doesn't happen. Like, they're just like, yeah, that show was awesome. They're generally right. They're in it. They get it. It's just like the sound check is the issue and getting past that. Tim Stanley says, thanks so much for the awesome speaker demos. I was wondering what speakers you're using live, and when I look back at the Celestion G12 35XC, yeah, I have a quad of those, and I'm like, I should put these in a 412 or something. I did that one demo with them, and that's all I've done. I mean, when I play live, I generally use greenbacks, so I'm just a greenback kind of aficionado. Those speakers sounded good to me. I'm not sure exactly what they were going for with them. They kind of came and went, and they were a limited release anyway. But I do have a quad of them somewhere. And I just got the 4 blackbacks, that I put in my main sort of Studio 412. 1978 blackback G12M, 75 hertz. For all you geeks. Could I release my Sir Hedgehog Kemper profiles? I've never made a Kemper profile of a Hedgehog. I didn't do that. I would have to do that, but I haven't put out any of my Kemper profiles. I don't know. That's a whole can of worms. I won't go down that road. Next question. Let's see here. Hi from France. What's up, France? I miss you. Hope to go back there sometime soon. Okay, have I talked with Tim about the string butler for Les Pauls? I haven't, but I've seen his video on it. Seems like it works pretty good. Anything to reduce friction and kind of make a, less friction is the issue on Les Pauls for sure. What speaker do I recommend for an amp with both a Vox and Fender voice? And it's hard, but probably I would veer towards the Alnico. I would go more in the Vox direction. Something Alnico. Like maybe the Alnico Cream, which is an amazing sounding speaker. It really does have a lot of the character of the Blue, but it handles 100 watts, I think. Really, really nice sounding speaker. The A-Type is nice too, the Celestion, but it's a different thing, Obviously, I'm kind of a Celestion aficionado, and there could be other speakers out there, Eminence ones and stuff, that I just haven't tried that many of them, to tell you the truth, because there's only so much time. Scumbacks and Celestions are where I've lived for years now, so. Yeah. When I pick up a guitar for the first time, is there a spot on the neck my hands gravitate towards? Probably the 5th fret, I would say. When I went to MI, did I get an associate bachelor degree or certificate? Just a certificate. They didn't have the degree program back then. It was just a year. It was a year or the short summer program. That's all they had. Would I recommend young guitarists to attend music schools if they want to be a hired gun? I mean, it can't hurt, I don't think, as long as you keep your head about you and you don't get... There's nothing wrong with education, ever, It's not going to get you the gig, but it can't hurt, that's for sure. When playing a piece like Promise, how light is your pick attack to reduce fret buzz? Oh geez, I don't know. It's one of those things I'd have to stop and look at. That's a hard piece to play. It always trips me up. I have to practice it a lot to be able to play it, but I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing when I'm playing it, to tell you the truth. Technique-wise, I don't even know what I'm doing with the pick. I'd have to analyze it. Is a Sir Classic T worth the extra cash versus a Fender American Telecaster? That's an impossible question. You have to play both guitars and try them out. It seemed to be a lot more in Canada. Yeah, I mean, maybe you look at the Pro Series Telecaster, or whatever they call the Pro Series now. The Pro Series the Pro Series Sir T is the one that I'm saying might be more in line with whatever a Fender American Tele price is. Anytime you get in the Classic T, it's got more custom options, a bit more of a custom guitar as opposed to a line one like the Fender, so the price is going to be different. Who's my guitar tech in LA? I tend to go, or do you take them to Sir? Yeah, almost always I'm going to Sir, but if there is something else I want to do in LA, I'll go see Eric at Lush Guitars, which is at Third Encore's facility in the Valley. He's at he's I don't know if he's calling it Lush anymore, because he's actually in the Tour Supply now. So yeah, Eric is great. Eric at Tour Supply does terrific guitar work. Super nice guy, fast turnaround, reasonable prices. I like him a lot. Also, Norik Renson's terrific. I haven't seen Norik in years, but he's really good, and he's in the Valley. Rents and guitar repair. Always solid. Okay, do I still rock a Badger 18? Sometimes I use it. Let's see. Let's see. Why can I'm sorry? I'm just trying to. Matthew Payton saying that's interesting. I'm sorry, Matt. I'm just not getting your question. Why conversion gold top? I guess is a little dark in the neck pickup at the moment. It has a Seth Lovers set. Okay, so you're just saying your conversion has a Seth Lovers and it's a bit dark. Try the Thornbucker neck, because it's an Alnico 5 with a mismatched wind, whereas the Seth Lover is Alnico 2. It's going to be warmer, darker. Yeah, try an Alnico 5 pickup with a real low wind in the neck pickup, in the neck position. Should Elon Musk send a Dumble to space? Probably. I think so. Wasn't that Tesla in space the coolest thing? That was like, I just, without going deep down this road, we need Elon Musk right now so badly and his genius. I'm such a fan of that dude. Just anybody that can inspire people to, Elon, I'll just talk about it for a second. That dude, I saw a great documentary on him because I didn't realize this whole story, but, he moved from South Africa. He was living with his brother, I do believe, in a San Francisco apartment, small apartment, and they were sharing a computer. This is when he was in his early 20s, mid-20s. They literally had one laptop between them, and he wrote a program for business that he sold for $20 million. So he's 27, 28 years old, and he writes some amazing program for business software and ends up selling that company that he made in this little apartment for 20 million, right? So what do most people do at that point, right? Go buy a mansion on an island or something and just retire? No, he takes the 20 million and he starts PayPal. And then in a few years, he sells it for $200 million. And then what does he do? Takes all that money and sinks it into SpaceX. Like, I'm going to make a company that builds rockets and goes to space, and an electric car company too. Let's do that while we're at it. And yeah, it's facing challenges, financial challenges at Tesla and all that stuff constantly, but come on, like, the guy he blows my mind. He really is one amazing human being. The things he's doing. Seeing those rockets land back on the pads, when the boosters come back down. It's the stuff of wonder. I'm so blown away by him. Anyway, and we need that right now, that kind of visionary. Do I use different amps for acoustics versus electric guitars? I don't play acoustic through amps. I would use a dedicated acoustic amp if I did. Something like a Trace Elliot or one of those like acoustic style amps, a Fishman's or something. But I just generally just run my acoustics through a nice DI and go to the PA and then go to in-ears. That's it. On stage, I have my nice like atomic uncolored wedge. I would probably use like an acoustic if I had to come up with a rig and it was like, okay, I need to amplify it on stage for some reason. I would probably use my atomic full range wedge speaker and use a preamp pedal of some sort, like one of the I saw these nice Zoom ones at the NAMM show where they've got some EQ and compression built in. Saw LR Bags as well, has similar stuff, a little preamp pedal or something with some compression, reverb, that kind of thing. Have I ever played Jaguars, or are they just not my thing? Well, okay, so the thing with the Jaguars, it's short scale, and for me, for a Fender style instrument, that always seemed weird to me. But then, like I say, I became a Johnny Marr fan. That all went out the window. So I've never owned one or really played one, but he sure makes them sound cool. He's an amazing guitar player. I love Johnny Marr. Like, his parts is so cool, just his parts, and he's so melodic, and it's just awesome. He's great. Seems like a cool guy too. I like where he's coming from musically, like when I hear him speak and in interviews and stuff. There's a big part of me that is like, because I love rock and metal and shred guitar and all that, but there's a big, big, big part of me that's like very deeply rooted in English music, and that more like, and part of me wonders, should I have moved to like London or something at some point and gone that route, completely different sort of from a, just the melodic and sort of guitar approach of what people do in the UK more, and not in any sort of like, hard rock or sort of metal capacity. I'm more talking about Johnny Marr and that sort of thing, because I love that. But that's like, I've got a wide berth of influences, I guess. Have I ever been tempted to use lighter strings to reduce wear on my fingers? Just more, yeah. It kind of. I mean, I've thought a lot about going to nines, and I have nines on a couple guitars, like that black guitar with the tortoiseshell pickguard that's tuned down to E flat. That's kind of like my Van Halen machine, That guitar's got nines on it, and I love nines. I mean, for certain things, but I sort of like for standard kind of most stuff, just the tone of tens seems to work well. Yeah. Let's see. David says he saw that I use a parallel push-pull switch on the hum single. Yeah, that's right. It's actually just a pull pot that puts the bridge pickup into parallel. Do I think this gets close to a single coil bridge? Yeah, kind of telly-ish. It does. It's a total great fake telly thing, for a bridge humbucker. Right in the ballpark. I mean, nothing sounds the same as like any, you know what I mean? But it's about the same output, I would say, as like a hot single coil at that point. And, you can always fine tune it by rolling the tone down a bit, because it can be a little bit bright, but it's cool. That's why I have it, because I like it. Think about buying a Helix effects. Best new multi-effects like Boss GT1000 or Headrush. I don't know what's best. I don't know, honestly. I don't know. But the Helix HX is cool. I wrote some presets for the for NAMM for them for that thing. It's just effects, So if you like the Line 6 effects, I mean, it's a great little thing. It is. Does great tools. I was talking about this with Sir this morning. It's like the which thing is better sort of thing. And it's like we were talking about how, like, God, it's really like comparing, here's a Toyota, here's a Mazda, here's a Kia, here's a Honda, which one should I get? Which one's better? I don't know, man. Like, there's so many. We're in this age of where this stuff is all good, And it's just like, what do you do? It's a lot of stuff, and like you could get any one of them and make them work. I'll just say that. You just have to kind of. All right, I'll choose this one. I don't know. It's a tough thing to ask, I know it's not. It's a shitty answer, but. It really is the way I feel about it. Like I could use all this stuff and probably get the job done, which is it's like a quality problem, like option anxiety, but everything's going to work, whatever path you go down. Choose door A, B, or C, but you'll be able to get the job done, and no matter what door you go into. Which one do you pick? Okay, when recording with delay pedals that I can't set the BPM, do you use plugins in post? Do you use plugins in post, or do you try to get the time as right as you can? Oh, well, don't worry about it too much. Like, set the delay the old school way by just turning the knob and get it timed to the track as close. And if it ain't perfect, they can add a nice blend of imperfect whatever to your track. It can be cool. You ever listen to like "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins, and they use, I believe, an RE201, a Space Echo, for the vocals on it. And when he says the line, they pull up the delay on the line. I can't remember, but he says when we never met or ever met, and then the word "met" goes met, and it's like behind the beat of the track, and it's so cool because it's like it's not in perfect time. Check it out if you have a chance. Pull up "In the Air Tonight" and listen to that. I love how it's not exactly right, and the tone of the delay is like tailing off, and it sounds shittier every time because it's tape delayed, and it's cool. Perfect isn't always the way to go. Have I been using Sir Hedgehog? Yeah, actually, I have been using it. I use it as session. Young fella named Matt. I'm actually going today to complete guitars on 5 songs at a session I've been working on. This guy's kind of amazing. He is a fella that he's playing in prisons. So he like has done a tour of literally like tours and goes to penitentiaries and plays for the inmates. I mean, like I have never seen. It's like, dude, you have got the biggest set of balls. Honestly, like it's like to go out and play in front of. I saw video of him playing in front of all these anyway, I'm working on he's a young singer songwriter from New York City, and he imagine going with acoustic guitar, sometimes no microphone, and he's playing in front of you just see all these prisoners sitting there in the seats, and he's walking around with his acoustic and singing and brings up obviously comparisons to Johnny Cash and stuff like that, but he's a cool Americana kind of singer songwriter guy. Anyway, I digress. I used the Hedgehog a lot on the session, and it sounded great, and I'll probably take it again today to finish some guitars. I'm going over there this afternoon. Okay, is it true there are now Sir offsets with real jazz master style trim? Yeah, the mastery trim, and it's amazing. I'd never tried. They don't. It's not their bridge. It's a mastery bridge, I guess, an expensive bridge. And the pickups they designed, they made true jazz master style pickups. That sounds just great. So that's a cool guitar. I mean, like a really fun guitar. I plugged it in only briefly when I was checking out the Aura at Sir the week before NAMM, and I plugged in and I was like, oh man, like I just hit the tremolo and started, doing surfy kind of stuff, and it was so fun. It stays in tune. It feels awesome. You can see them in my video, my NAMM video that I put up on YouTube. There's a brief, where I sort of pan over the 2 guitars, and you can see them. So check that out. It's in my playlist of my latest videos, right before I show the Auras, I think. Thinking of using a pair of small combos live. What would my ideal combination be? Well, like different amps. I mean, if it was me, because I'm a big Sir amp guy, I would probably use 2 Bellas and go in stereo or something, and then add some pedals. But if you're talking about using 2 different amps, it might be fun to use something like a Bella and then like my little AC-15. That could be a cool combo, and either running them at the same time or maybe A-B'ing them. That actually probably sound really good. I've never tried that, but using like the Bella and the 15 together at the same time, kind of set right on the edge of breakup. You're making me think. It'd be cool for some things. Okay. Trying to get my tone to sound like my acoustic, but with electric. Not sure if I need to switch my amp or guitar. Sorry, I don't know. This is from Josh. Not sure what you mean. If I need to switch my amp or guitar, I've got a Gibson Firebird and a Tone King Royalist 45. It's a nice sounding amp, I think. JTM 45 to lead sounds from it. Sorry, dude, I don't know what you're saying, but ask. Can you be more? Trying to get my tone to sound like my acoustic, but with electric. Not sure if I need to switch my amp or guitar. I don't know. Like you want an electric that has kind of an acoustic kind of thing going on? I don't know. Maybe one of those Taylors with the soap bar or with the lipstick tube pickup in the neck. Like a hybrid between acoustic and electric kind of guitar. Let's see. Have I tried Fender 75 amp? Worst amp ever. Those are like made in the 70s. I think I know the one you mean. Worst amp ever. That's funny. There can only be one best and one worst. Look at it that way. It holds a special place in your mind as the worst. What's the best way to run the Helix into your UA Apollo interface? Running XLR, and it sounds like doesn't. Sorry, Matt. I'm not sure where you're going with it, but yeah, that's fine. Just run the XLR outs into the. I mean, you can go digital out. No, you can't. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Yeah, I would just say just run XLR out into your UA. Will the new album be available in an uncompressed format? Last couple of releases have been MP3 AAC only. Yeah, that's a kind of a issue with, I guess, probably using DistroKid and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, for sure, I'm going to have it on CD, and I'm going to have it on maybe even LP, and I'm working on that this week, trying to come up with some different ways to do a novel sort of physical release of the album. So you'll definitely be able to get it on. I wasn't originally going to do it, but now I'm going to do it on CD and stuff. As far as I'll ask about that. As far as the high resolution kind of download thing, I need to look into that and figure out if there's something I need to do with, be it CD Baby or DistroKid or whatever, to get it to iTunes and maybe offer it that way. Yeah, but you certainly be able to get it on CD. And Baron Guitar says, still trying to nail Eruption. It's been a lifelong endeavor. Thanks for the lesson. You bet. And yeah, it was the 40th anniversary of Van Halen 1 release yesterday, which is one of my favorites. And, Eddie, congratulations, dude. 40 years and it still endures, right? Because, look at it. Baron Guitar made a comment about it today. So still working on it. What an amazing feat. What Friedman amp should I buy? Runt 50 or Pink Taco? Well, that's impossible. You have to answer that. The Runt 50 is obviously a bigger gigging amp. It's got a clean channel, more features. Pink Taco is a very one-trick pony, but it does a good trick in a small amp. So, you have to ask yourself, what kind of player am I? What do I need? Okay. Tim is going to be on Tone Talk next week. Yeah, that's right. Tim Pierce is on Dave Friedman's Tone Talk show next week, so check that out. And it should be a really entertaining one, I'm sure. I'll be watching. Let's see. Did I try the Friedman DPOD at NAMM? I don't even know what that is. Isn't that a new Friedman overdrive pedal that Dave hasn't told me about? I don't know about it. DPOD. Haven't tried it. Haven't seen it. Don't know about it. Sorry. Do I ever play bass guitar to make my guitar playing better? The heavy strings make for a good exercise. Oh, like just physically? Or have any other approaches like that? Here's an interesting thing. Laurie Basilio, when we filmed the Tim and Pete show the other day, said she just bends to warm up. I was like, oh, that's cool. She just bends strings. And she goes, yeah, I'll warm up really fast when I just, bend. I was like, that's cool. That makes sense. Just do some simple, slow bends. It could be a good thing. I don't play bass but it does, physically, after I play a bass track that's maybe slightly demanding, I do feel like, whoa, that was a workout. Now I'm, warmer on guitar for sure. It's more a musical thing, playing bass guitar. I love to play bass just for the sense of doing a different instrument, locking in with the drums, and that whole different kind of rhythm section approach. When I first tried to play bass in my younger years, I was horrible because I didn't realize it's not just a guitar with 4 strings. It's like you have to actually think differently. That was like a revelation to me, and that's really fun for me. I feel like I'm a hobbyist bass player. I'm not a real good bass player, but I really enjoy it because it's not guitar. It's a different way of thinking. I'd love to do a tour on bass, where I just, God, really, all I need is an SVT and a P bass and a tuner, and I can just go out and make the same money as that guy over there that's got that whole wet dry wet rig. That sounds good. I'd love that. I'm not saying bass players are lazy. I'm not. I'm just saying they've got it all figured out in a way. And you have this amazing power as a bass player where you are the lowest common denominator and you're driving that ship. You decide to change the bass note and whoa, the whole sound of the band just changed. Pretty cool. I'm jealous of bass players. Okay, Henrik's asking about that bridge. Will all my signature models be fitted with the new trim? There's questions to answer first about that with the, production and things like that of the thing. How available is it? You know what I mean? So there's a bit of a road to go down before we make that decision. I love the bridge. I think it's great. 510's a great bridge too, you know, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's traditional. It obviously works great for a lot of people. So it's like we just have to find out, you know, things like the costs, you know. So it's something we're evaluating at this point. Probably within a month or so, I'd have an answer on that. Okay. How do those saddles lock on the bridge? It's an Allen screw. The string slips under it and you just lock it down. It's the simplest thing in the world. Just kind of feeds under it, the screw's screwed up, and then you just tighten it down. Boom, it's locked in the saddle. It's cool, elegant, simple. Big Ben's nut sauce helps cure a lot of the tuning issues, especially the nut. Certainly on Les Pauls, definitely. I don't find I need it really that much on my Surs that have a tusk nut. You know, if you got any kind of slippery nut, you might not need it. But man, on Les Pauls, the Big Ben stuff is a godsend. It can't hurt on any guitar, really. That stuff's cool. How would it sound, a signature pedal, a Pete Thorn pedal? Well, I may be working on something. You know, it's been a dream of mine to have a kind of like a pedal that would be an all-in-one kind of thing that you could just take to a session or gig or something like that. I'll just say that. So where it's got kind of everything in there, you know, clean amp du jour, and you've got most of your cross-section of what you need, that you can just kind of plug in and go in a simple box. So, hello from the Great White North. Would you rather the Stevie Ray or Jeff Beck Strat? For me personally, I'd probably have the Stevie Ray, because the Jeff Beck's a little bit of a more esoteric kind of, you know, big neck, crazy. I think if they still make it, it's got the roller nut. Maybe it's got lace sensors in it. At least that's the way that it used to be. Maybe it's got different pickups now. I don't know. This isn't really what Jeff uses. He uses those crazy Sir pickups that John made for him. Thoughts on set neck and neck through? Neck through guitars just kind of fell by the wayside, didn't they? There's not really like many of them out there anymore. Firebird, I guess. You know, but set neck, obviously love it. What's my 9 Inch Nails Reznor story? Many years ago, 2005, on the With Teeth era, I got a call to go audition for 9 Inch Nails, and I went and auditioned. I'll just tell the story as quick as I can because it's kind of long. I went and did an audition which first consisted of me playing in front of the bass player and drummer at the time, and playing. It was a weird audition because there was no band. It was just me, which is weird. And I couldn't really see them, and they were sitting in a rehearsal studio, and they were like saying, okay, like try this song, try that song, and I had my laptop there, and I had it plugged into the PA, and I was playing songs and just jamming along to the record, and they were watching me play. So that was my initial audition. And then I got a call back that said they wanted me to go play in front of Trent, and I was like, okay, cool. And also, we want you to come meet him and just talk for a minute. And I was like, okay. So I went to the Village in West LA where they were finishing up With Teeth. And he met me and he wanted to play me some songs. So he played me, you know, that song, Don't You Know What You Are? Or Don't You Know, it's the crazy double kick one. That they played me that, and they played me probably A Hand That Feeds and a couple other songs. This was well before the record even came out. I sat and listened to it, and I was like, whoa, yeah, this sounds awesome. And he said, so this is something that you'd be interested in? I was like, yeah, okay. So then I went and played for him in a similar thing where he was sitting and I couldn't see him, same rehearsal studio. And they told me, okay, you're probably only going to play 2 or 3 songs, but these are the 7 to have ready. So I had to prepare 7 songs. And he said, okay, play this one. And I said, okay, and I had prepared live versions and studio versions. So, because sometimes they were different arrangements or slightly different guitar parts and stuff. So I said, which one do you want me to play? And I think that impressed him, that I had the different versions, you know. And I just totally went for it as much as, I mean, it's like, yeah, I just tried to be an extrovert as much as I could up there on a stage by myself, playing through a PA, you know, to recordings. And And he called all 7 tunes. He kept saying, that was cool, man. Like, okay, play this one. Okay, play that one. And so I played them all. And then he said, how did you learn Hurt? And I said, I learned it on nylon string guitar, just like Robin used to do it. And he said, okay, I'm going to come down and sing it with you. So I played it with him, just him and me, like, which was one of the more interesting, you know, and I was like, whoa, like he came down and it was just Trent Reznor on vocals and me on nylon string guitar. And we played the song. And I was, yeah, that was cool, you know. And I walked out going, and his tech, one of his, like, guy that worked for him came out after and said, wow, man, that was cool. He's like, he hasn't sung live on a microphone, like, you know, with anybody like that, like in a rehearsal or whatever for like a while. Like, that was cool. And I thought, this looks good, you know. So anyway, I went home and didn't hear from them. And then this was down to, there was only like 4 guys left auditioning, I think. And I got a call saying, well, he really likes you, but they ended up going with this other guy because he was crazy in the audition, was like very extroverted, and it's kind of like a, you know, really, they wanted somebody that was like super showy and just kind of not afraid to like break their guitar, that kind of thing. So, and I was like, oh, that sucks. So I didn't get it, and I was kind of sad at that point, and because I was like really getting into the idea of like, whoa, like I'd love to play with Nine Inch Nails. And so 3 weeks went by, and I remember being in the kitchen of my house, and I was applying for a new passport, which I need to do again. Gotta do that this week. Anyway, I was applying for a new passport, filling out the application. The phone rang, and I picked it up, and he's, you know, on the other end of the line is Peter. Yeah, this is Trent Reznor. Hi, you know, and he says, like, I've been trying to get in touch with you for like a week. You haven't been returning my emails. And I was like, sorry, man, I didn't get an email from you. And he had the wrong email address and was sending emails. And I know the guy now who's got the same name as me, lives in Denmark, that was receiving the emails. Anyway. And he's like, so I've been sending emails for a week to somebody that, you know, isn't you? And I was like, I think so. He was 1 letter off in the email address. So anyway, he's like, oh, Jesus. So anyway, he said, look, I let that guy go, the other guy I hired, and he was stressed on the phone, you know, because, you know, now they're 3 weeks further down the road, and he's not happy with whatever the choice they made. So he said, how soon can you come down here and play? And I was like to their rehearsal studio they were set up in. And I said, give me 24 hours, just go over the music, and I'll come down. And so he said, okay, just come down here, just come down and get the gig. I just want you to come down and get the gig, you know, like he's all stressed. And I was like, okay, and I hung up the phone. I went to work, you know, just plugged in my rig, got everything back going, like started going over all that music again. And I went down the next day, and that was the first day I actually jammed with Nine Inch Nails, you know, and went in and played through at least 7 or 8 songs. And then they said, okay, we want you to learn something off the new record right now. We're going to give you an iPod. Just learn it. And they handed it to me. It was a song, The Collector. It's in, the verse is in 5, I think. Or it's a bar 5, bar 4, something like that. So it's just, I would, oh, okay, they're trying to stump me up a little bit here. So it's a riff, kind of a fuzzy riff in the verse, and kind of an angular kind of riff, and then it opens up in the chorus. And so I spent about 20 minutes learning it and made some sounds with the fuzz pedal and did some stuff. And I said, they were over in the corner. And I said, okay, I think I got it. And we played through it. And I remember the drummer goes, okay, you just nailed that better than the guy that's been in here for 3 weeks trying to get it. My first time through. And I was like, cool, you know? So, and it was a blast playing with them. Really, really exciting. So I was stoked, and I left that day feeling really, really good about it. And then I didn't hear from them for a while. About week, 2 weeks went by, week and a half. And I was like, ugh. You know, so now the whole audition kind of process has been going on for like over a month at that point, and I still sort of didn't know what was happening. And so I sent a letter to Trent, because I had a touring gig at the time, and I was playing with another artist, and I sent a letter to, and we had some dates coming up, about 2 weeks of dates. So I sent an email to him, said, hey, just haven't heard from you guys, just wanted to know, you know, maybe what's happening. I just wanted you to know I've got these dates coming up, and so I didn't want there to, you know, be any sort of, you know, anybody be in the dark that there's this little conflict or whatever, and just in case. But I didn't even know if they were interested in me at that point. And he sent me an email back right away and said, you know, I don't want to go too much into details of what happened after that, but basically they were like, look, you're at the top of our list. like, and so this could be a problem. And I was like, oh, so I said, can I call you? And so then I got him on the phone, and he was like, look, we really want you to do it, but you can't commit to us now. And I was like, well, it's just 2 weeks. I was like, there's this dates that are, that kind of thing. So he said, let me call you back. And I waited all day and didn't get a call. And I was like, oh, so I was like tearing my hair out. And he called about 5 o'clock and said, can you come down now? And I said, yeah. And I said, do you want me to bring gear? Like, come down to the rehearsal studio? I said, do you want me to bring gear? And like, do you want to jam? And he said, yeah, bring your stuff. Let's play. And I hung up the phone. I was like, that's it. I think I'm playing with 9 Inch Nails. I think this is actually going to happen. Like, we're going to work this scheduling thing out. And that was the moment where I was like, and I put myself in the car and drove over there. But when I got there, that was not the vibe. The vibe was, well, I shouldn't tell too much of the story. Like, basically, it was like, look, we really need somebody now to commit to us, and if you can't do that today, like, basically they said, we're going to we've actively stopped looking for somebody, but if you've got to go on the road for a minute, if you come back in 2 weeks and somebody hasn't come out of the woodwork that we absolutely have to jam with, then you'll be our guitar player. That was basically the vibe. But if you come back and we, not that hasn't happened, then you'll be our guitar player. That was the vibe, basically. So anyway, I said, okay, I guess. Now, this is a lesson for me. In that moment, what I was doing was I was putting the person that I was being employed by ahead of my own career, basically. I was being loyal. I'm not going to leave somebody, with a tour coming up in a week. That would be the wrong thing to do. That's what I was thinking. I'm going to stick by the person that has been employing me. And what I actually should have done is said to them, look, if I leave now, if I leave this gig, this person's going to be pissed at me and it's going to be a problem. So what I need from you is some sort of assurance, be it, I don't know, 2 months pay or whatever it would be, that because you could just fire me in a week and then, then I'm out of 2 gigs and now I'm screwed, and I've pissed somebody off. And so I didn't do that. I said, no, I have to stick by my commitment. And I actually realized that what I should have done for putting myself first, they would have been okay. The band that I was playing with had another guitar player. The other guitar player actually ended up leaving a few months later, and I ended up doing a tour solo. And yeah, it was a bit of a problem. The person was pissed that I was touring with. But you know what? We did a tour as a 4-piece at that point, with just me on guitar. It was fine. So they would have been fine. I might have burned a bridge, but I should have put myself in the, they ended up letting me go anyway, like about, I don't know, a year later or something like that. It's like, it's 9 Inch Nails, So I approached it. I learned a lot from that experience. And anyway, what ended up happening was we went on the road. I went out to do the little 2-week run or whatever. And about 3 or 4 days later, Trent Reznor emailed me and said, it pains me to tell you this, but something like that. But we've decided to play with this guy, which was Aaron North, the guitar player that did the With Teeth tour. And, he said, I think you're an excellent musician, and I wish you all the best with your endeavors, and, maybe our paths will cross down the road or something like that. And I sent him back an email and just said, look, man, you made an incredible record. I wish you all the success in the world, and I hope your tour goes great and everything. And he wrote me back, and he said, he said, it's rare to find somebody in this business that's as competent as you and as nice of a person. He said something like that, because I wasn't pissed or vindictive or whatever in my email, and I guess he appreciated that. So I really I felt like we left it on a good note, and I would love to work with him. We had a great connection. Like, I felt like musically, he would ask me to try things. Can you do something in here that's crazy, or do something crazy noise, or do and I would go, okay, and I'd try something. He'd go, yeah, that was cool, and I just had a great time playing with him. And, I know he can be I don't know, tough guy to work for or whatever, but he knows what he wants and he asks for it. But he was, I learned a few things, even just being in there jamming with them for a few days, because I did do a couple days out before I went on tour. It was almost like I was doing the gig. I went in and rehearsed with them for a couple days and stuff like that, and it went great, I thought. And I remember him saying one thing that I learned from him. He was talking to the keyboard player, and the keyboard player was playing something. And he said, what's that sound that you're doing right now? This is, Trent. And the keyboard player was playing it. He goes, it's not special enough. He said it's just kind of extraneous. Like he said, everything that has to be going on, like everything that's going on in the song, everything has to be special. Like every single part. Don't just play something to play something. Every single part, every single sound has to be special. And if it's not, then it should be silent, or you should not be playing there. Leave the space for other things that are special. Don't just fill holes, with sound. And I always think about that still to this day. So I learned things, from the experience. But it did bum me out a lot. I was fairly depressed for about 6 months after that about not, because I was really getting into the record and really getting the idea, like, I want to play with Nine Inch Nails. So, anyway, Robin is, he's been the guitar player for Aaron did that one tour, and then Robin came back, and he's a fantastic guitar player and really creative and interesting and just fantastic in that band, I think. That's my Nine Inch Nails story. Thanks for listening to that whole diatribe from 13 years ago. Alex says, what's my inspiration for my new tune, Satch Boogie vibe? Yeah, definitely a Satriani fan, and that was the vibe, was the whole Hot for Teacher. I had a whole thing, like, about, like, nobody plays boogie, nobody plays, like, that swing groove anymore. Nobody does that anymore. That kind of, like, swing feel on guitar, and I thought Satch Boogie, Hot for Teacher, and it's like, well, I got to put out a song where it's like, let's not lose that feel completely. It's fun. Boogie kind of, so that was definitely the Hot for Teacher, Satch Boogie. I loved in Satch Boogie too how he went left in the middle and did the whole tapping thing. It was about the furthest thing from blues. You know what I mean? It still kept the groove and the pulse of the swing feel, but harmonically it just goes completely left. So I tried to do that in my song a little bit. It was really that was the blueprint, and I was upfront about it. I mean, it was like, I'm not trying to copy Satch Boogie. It's not the same harmonically and stuff, but that basically sort of taking the inspiration of what he did with that song and then doing it now all these years later, coming up with my own sort of song. Joe's awesome, I think. Any plans for an AX8 demo? Well, I just used it on the Tim and Pete show with Laurie. So I was like, God, I've got this AX8. I need to get using it for something. So I made some sounds the other day, and I took it and we did Tim and Pete show with it. So I'm playing through it, and then Laurie played a bunch through it as well, which was really cool. So not really a full demo, but it'll be in the next Tim and Pete show. So I can sell ice to an Eskimo. Oh man, I don't know. This is so much good gear, honestly. All this stuff sounds good. It's not that hard. Just plug it in. It all kind of sounds great. Okay, sorry if this is recovered already, Tom. I don't think it has really. Compression after drive, not for me. You're saying you really dig it. Regards from London. Maybe that could be a thing that maybe for a Gilmore thing might be really cool. Less noise than you anticipated. Hey man, if it works, do it. It's probably a nice smooth drive sounding having compression after drive. I always worry about the noise floor, and I just haven't done it. So Joe Bonamassa send a Dumble to space. No, but Joe should go do a gig on the moon or something. That would be cool, right? Get like a select audience of 30 folks to go up to the moon and play a rock show or a blues show. I would like to see that. I want to be on that spaceship. Okay. It seems to me that if you give the sound man a line out from the aux, then it should be easy to get the levels balanced, says Fernando. Yes, but for the sound, well, that's up to the sound person being able to balance the levels, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's up to their interpretation what a balanced level is at that point, And if some sound people seem to think that a balanced level is non-existent guitar and lots of kick drum and vocal, that's the only worry. If you're talking about the on-stage sound, the aux has the ability to also run a cab, and I would probably be inclined, if I was using the aux for my live sound, to also run a cabinet on stage and just have the attenuator turned down to a nice level where I can hear the guitar cabinet. Then what's going out to the PA and stuff is the idealized mic'd up aux thing. That would be a pretty cool rig. I'll probably end up trying that at some point. Is the 2 notes torpedo reload the only game in town for what it does? As far as a reamp box, that also allows you to reamp through the, you know what I mean? Because it's got the whole reamp setup. Not, I don't mean reamp as an attenuator with the power amp. I mean reamp guitar when you're re-recording things. Yeah, there's no other unit that does exactly what it does. Have I seen the Ed O'Brien Strat? No, I haven't actually. I'm not too familiar with his particular model. Okay. It's about 12:39. Wow, this is gonna be a long one too. That's okay. I'll go till 1, and then I got to get out of here. Why not? I'm enjoying this today. Not that I don't always, but yeah, we'll make this a 2-hour one. Can I tell you about my 500 series setup? What do I use the most? The Maris is what I use the most. I've also got a nice DBX pre. They make a nice mic pre in there that I'm using a little bit, and it's got some nice controls for. You can even run out of it from like the reactive load, and then go into it. And then it's got some simple EQ controls that I find are kind of nice, like for low end and high end. So it's a simple DBX pre called a 560 or something, and it's nice. And then I've also got a DBX compressor in there. So, you know, for doing some post compression or recording like bass guitar or DI through it with a little bit of that DBX compression kind of classic thing. That's really nice. That's my basic thing. And then I've got the Maris reverb in there, which is incredible, but I really want another one to be able to do stereo. So that's the only thing, because it's a mono version. I should hit up Maris and see if I can buy another one from them, or whatever. It's the, you know, the Mercury, the same one you can get in a pedal now. I've got the 500 series, which I made a video of it. Amazing sounding reverb, inspired by Blade Runner, believe it or not. The soundtrack. Those incredible kind of reverb sounds. Let's see. Pete, is it just me, or does that UA aux sound like shit compared to using good old IRs? It's just you. Or maybe it's, you know, user error from what you've seen. It sounds amazing, man. The aux is killer. But it's open to interpretation. You know, you can make anything sound bad. So maybe you saw a video you didn't like or something. I think it sounds great. Really great. Okay. Is a mic preamp necessary? Well, for a microphone. Can you just use a mic with something like an Apogee Jam or One? Well, the Apogee has a XLR input. It's got kind of a simple mic pre built in, I think. Though Jam doesn't have a mic pre, I don't think. Does it? I don't think so. Jam is just a guitar interface to go high Z to get into the computer through a converter. The One you could use, or is a mic preamp necessary? Well, it's just another part of, you know, it's like, well, when you get into the, well, now I want to add, you know, a pre, is it an Eve, is it an API, is it a tube pre? They all do sound different. They all kind of affect the tone if you're recording with microphones. It's a whole rabbit hole you can go down, you know, just like anything. When the PT50 comes out, do you think it would be possible to put it into a smaller head shell? Yes. Yes. Definitely. Smaller, better, lighter. Yes, I want. So do you. Okay. Space Station makes my emulator sound like it comes from everywhere. That's the Aspen Pittman full range speed. That's what Aspen was describing to me, and I haven't seen. I guess I got to try it at some point. It does sound cool. He's very excited about it. I know that. How does the old Rivera Rock Crusher recording unit stand up to the new Sir Aux, etc.? I found the Rivera to be a good unit. I don't want to get into, you know, comparing them too much beyond just saying that my favorite was the Sir. You know, that's the attenuator that if I'm going to load with a cabinet, I plug in the Sir and it sounds the same. Doesn't affect the tone of your amp the most. The aux is fantastic. The aux reactive load, I should mention, is modeled off of Jensen, I think. I don't know exactly what they did, but it's not exactly the Celestion thing, so it's not going to sound exactly the same as loading with a 412, but it is a reactive load. Okay, really good reactive load. Do I use, and what do I think of the Archer distortion? The Archer is really an overdrive to me, but yes, I do use it. I got one right here by my left foot. It's great for doing the Kalani thing. The Centaur. Thoughts on Godin guitars? Great. Have they ever supported me? Well, I have the nylon string hanging right on the wall there. See? It's over there. You can see it. I think Godin's making great guitars, to tell you the truth. I stopped by and actually went in their booth at NAMM, and they're nice guitars for the money. They really are. You know, they do a great job building guitars in North America, made in Canada, right? And I think they're good guitars. Really like the nylon string and the steel strings in that sort of multi-act or whatever they call it, would be because they're solid, you know, and they don't feed back. I mean, the nylon string is an industry standard as far as, you know, live nylon string guitar. Steve Stevens uses it, and then a whole bunch of, you know, folks that play flamenco and stuff like that also use the Godin guitars. I know that. Do I think most of amp model are either DAC nor analog is close enough to the real deal, feel and quality wise? Sorry, I don't quite understand your question, but you know, amp modeling's come a long way, and I think it's got its place. I'll just say that. Still love my real amps, but the modelers work well too. Want to try out the Atomic Overdrive through the dirty channel of an Artist 15. Is that Black Star amp? I would probably try it through the clean channel. The Atomic Overdrive is it's almost a misnomer. I would call it the Atomic Distortion, because to me it kind of like does what a dirty channel on an amp does. It does it well with the 3-band EQ and all that. I don't know if it'll sound great going into an already dirty sound. I would use the Atomic Overdrive as my main dirty sound into a clean sound. That's my recommendation there. It's that kind of pedal to me. How do I personally deal or tackle depression? Any advice? Big bottle of tequila. No, that's terrible. Don't do that. Depression. That's a unique to each individual kind of problem. I will suggest this: a good therapist. Nobody gets an instruction manual for life, and you're pretty much left, you know, dealing with whatever your parents, who also aren't, you know, psychology experts. Nobody's are unless they're psychologists. You know, going to talk to somebody is helpful, and there should be no shame in that. Or it's really helpful to have somebody objective that's not a friend or doesn't have a stake in, you know what I mean? Like your family, your friends, they've all got some sort of, like, well, like it or not, everybody's got sort of their, I don't want to say agenda, it's not about that, but they want to help you, you know, they want to be, sometimes you need somebody that you're actually paying to, and is an expert in psychology, to offer you a completely objective opinion on what it is that you're doing. And they will call you out on your shit, and also tell you when, you know, when you're doing something right, and it's not biased. That's hard to find. It's hard to find a good one, but when you find a good one, it's like gold. I will say that. That's my advice. Honestly, that's my serious. You know, there's been times in my life when I've gone and done that. I'm not ashamed to say it, and I've learned so much about myself and my own. You know, it's incredible. So if you feel like you needed some help, go ask for it. You know, always. Find somebody good. It's worth it, you know, whatever it costs, honestly, because it can be expensive. But, and if you don't feel like you're bonding with somebody either, if you go do that, then move on. You know, go ahead and feel like, you know, don't feel like you have to. If it's an uncomfortable situation, it shouldn't be. It's not to say it's easy. You'll know when it's right. You know, when you got a good fit, somebody that you gel with that's working for you. You know. Okay. Recently bought a Trainer YCV40. Any idea to push that into a modern pop punk sound? Pop punk, like sort of Green Day. Like, I would probably do something that's Plexi BE-ish, like the BEOD, or maybe the Riot. Riot would be great, you know, for that pop punk, like the Riot Mini or something. Perfect. I'd say the BEOD or the Riot would be a really good choice for that. Okay. Moving on, moving on. Okay, it's a bit complicated question. Two Notes Live. I have an amp and cab at home. Plan to use it for cabinet attenuation. So like you want to attenuate the cabinet, use it with your real amp. Can I use the software cabinet simulations through my cabinet only? Okay, I understand. Or do I need to add studio speakers? No, so the guitar cabinet, you don't want to run a modeled speaker cabinet sound through, because now you're going to have double cabinet sound, right? Double filters can sound dark and muffled and weird. So yeah, if you're going to use the Two Notes, you want to hear their cabinet emulations through like a full range speaker, or through headphones, or studio monitors, that kind of thing. So I hope that makes sense. Do I like to drink beers and just jam? Hell yeah. Although I don't eat gluten because it makes me feel like crap, but there's some good gluten-free beer out there. Omission, it's good gluten-free beer. So I would drink an Omission and jam happily, given the opportunity. I drink cider these days. I actually got into cider, and I kind of like it more than beer. I like real English cider, like the bitter stuff, not sweet. Like Angry Orchard is crap to me. It's like way too sweet. I like that, the real kind of more gnarly sort of English stuff, but that's tasty, and I can drink that stuff because and I can drink it in jam too. Honestly, I'm kind of uptight, and so like one drink before a gig is a good thing for me personally. I don't recommend it to everybody, and there's some folks out there that don't drink, I'm sure, but I'm happy to have a beverage before a show, and it kind of helps me out just to not think so much. Be a little more free. Can I show you how I hold my pick from a couple angles? Well, basically like that. That's it. And I'm trying lately to kind of do this more, where I kind of touch the surface of the guitar a bit more with my, like when I see people that are really good at arpeggiating chords, they're always planting a finger on the guitar, or maybe grabbing the edge of the pickup ring or the pickup, doing like. And I have always had a problem like kind of fanning my fingers out a bit. My fingers tend to do this, and then the only part making contact with the guitar is my wrist on the bridge. And I find it's, as far as a point of reference, it's not as accurate as when I see some people that are better with the. So I'm actively trying to loosen up a bit with my right hand, and feel like it's okay to kind of put a finger on the surface of the guitar. And I seem to be getting better at it. Actually, it's taken a long time, but. Sometimes I think about it like actively. Even when I'm playing a gig or something, I'll think like, okay, it's a simple part, you're not going to screw up, go ahead and do it, and I'll just loosen up and put my, I kind of practice it, like, and I'm hoping it's starting to get there. Trying to change your picking technique is really hard. Blade Demers says 56 years old, never taken a vacation. Dude, you deserve a vacation. You should go somewhere fun. You'll enjoy the hell out of it for like 3 days, and then you'll be itching to get back to work. But that's what it's all about. You must like your job. Let's see here. What string gauge do I use? Says James. I probably get that. Oh, that's okay. I like 10s. I just use 10 to 46. At times I wish I was using 9s, but 10 to 46 works really good for me. On acoustic, I don't like. Sometimes I play 12s, but actually I find it buggers my hand. When I start getting into the too heavy strings, I can feel it right now. I get problems in here and stuff like that. And so I go to 11 to 52 is fine on acoustic for me, which are kind of light for a lot of people, but works for me. Okay. How do P90s differ from other pickups? Well, they're sort of big, fat. They got twang, but they got more mids. It's like the next step up from a telly. One step towards humbuckers. They really don't sound that different than a PAF style humbucker in a lot of ways to me. Okay. Let's see. Oh, what a funny comment. World says, Chris Cornell's song Time is awesome. Do you know that came on my I don't understand why my car plays certain songs, like, how it hooks up to your iTunes and and I heard that song yesterday for the first time in I don't know, 10 years or something. No, maybe not quite 10 years, but and it's funny now you just mentioned it. It's weird, serendipitous. It is kind of awesome, you know. It's good. That record, man. It got he had a hard time with that one, but there's some good music on it, and it's just it was a you know. Well, I could talk about that for ages, but it's an interesting period. That whole period. I don't know. That song is cool though. It's like it's kind of a hook fest. It's like full of hooks. Every part of that song is really hooky. It's just weird to listen to it yesterday. I was thinking was because we did a tour for that Scream tour, and I played that whole album front to back, like in cities all across America. Like for a couple 3 weeks, and I have no memory of I have memories of specific gigs, but I was thinking, God, I got holes in my memory of like playing all those songs. Like I used to play all this music. At one point, I learned this whole record front to back and played it like a piece of music for 45 minutes all the way through, or an hour or whatever. And yeah, interesting. Anyway, time goes by. Time, indeed. Somebody else is asking about the saddles on the turquoise Strat. We already kind of covered that, but it's something that we're looking at, working on, and evaluating, and they are cool. Love input on aux versus plain old IRs. Can I hear a difference, and is it negligible? Well, the speaker modeling thing is cool. So there's a drive knob that allows you to kind of model the speaker getting more distorted and more. And as you bring it up, it's the emulation is cool. So it's like when it's all the way down, it's the loudest, cleanest, punchiest. As you start to bring it up, it's the level drop bit. There's a bit more sort of like almost like compression or something. And the sound warms up a little bit. It's a little less spiky. And then as you're bringing it all the way up, and they even tell you in the manual, they're like, you're going to notice some cone cry and distortion or whatever on certain notes as the speaker, as you turn it all the way up, it's supposed to sound like a speaker that's really tired and old. And it's cool. That's the main difference, I think, is that, with IRs, it's a static thing where like you're not getting distortion or compression characteristics. That isn't something that the IR can capture, actually. At different, hitting a speaker hard. I mean, greenbacks, they collapse under, a certain amount of, output from an amplifier. They're going to do their own kind of cone distortion, cone cry, whatever you want to call it. That stuff happens. And so, I got to mess with it more, though. I've only really spent like a couple days with it. So I'm loving it, though, I have to say. Biggest regret of selling past gear, my 54 Les Paul Gold Top. I'll never get over that until I get another one, which I kind of have to do. Like, when I have enough money one of these days, one came up recently that it was like 19 grand. I don't have that money to spend right now. Not a lot of us do, but it was a good price. Like, not that long ago, they were all like 40 or 50, and now I saw one for 19. It's like, shit. It's like, I wish I had the money. If I had the money, I would, it's like, cool guitar. There was in the video that I took, the video that I made of NAMM, you see a guy at the Digitech booth playing a 53 Gold Top. And that guitar, man, every time I see one, I just lust after those guitars. Like, I feel kind of, it's funny because I feel like I got the burst thing almost covered with my Yaron. But the Gold Top, I just want a Gold Top. I don't know, because it's kind of more like a burst is like something I can't even. There's just no way, right? Like I could, you gotta buy real estate before you buy that. It's like so expensive. It's out of the realm of most guitar, unless you win the lottery or write a hit song or something. But Gold Top is sort of possible. It's within the realm of like, if I had a good year, I could get one. So. I wish I could find my old one. I sold it to a guy in Hawaii at a place called Gamer's Edge. Anybody ever hear of that? It was like a video game business or something where they sold video games. Anybody know where my burst is in Hawaii? I sold it to a guy in Honolulu. Had a refin top and a headstock brake that was well repaired. So if anybody out there knows a Gold Top in Hawaii with a headstock repair, and it looks like original top, but it's not. Original finish, it was done in the 70s, I think, but done really well. please let me know if you know where that guitar is. Bertold Johansson from Sweden says, in Sweden we have 5 weeks of paid vacation a year. I know. Yeah. Let's not get started on the problems these days with, this. I have a thing about Sweden, Norway, Finland, Denmark. You don't hear about them a lot, and there's a reason. It's because everything's just pretty hunky-dory, like no place is perfect, but things are functioning, on a high level. And, oh, man. Anyway. Let's see. Okay, that's a nice comment from somebody. Somebody says, love your playing ability, one of the best and cleanest I've ever heard. Thank you. Questions on your personal music. Have you ever thought of creating a band with a singer versus the instrumental? Yeah, I mean, I'd love to do a band again, or just join a band. If somebody was like, hey, we want a guitar player, we want you, we like what you do. If it was the right situation, I would love to go do that again and play with a singer, for sure. Absolutely. Do I want to start my own band? Not really. I don't want to start for something from scratch. I did, I'm producing this record right now for Holly Henderson. It's almost done. That was fun. She's a singer. Playing with her, maybe I'll go play with her. It's like if she gets something going on and goes on tour, and go do that. She's great. I don't know. The instrumental thing's fun for me because I can just do it on my own. I don't need anybody else really. I could just do it by myself, and it's like less drama and stuff. And I enjoy playing that kind of music, so it's fun. But yeah, what I want to I did the record label band tour, get in the van, demo songs incessantly. Like that was like 10 years of my life, like being in 4 or 5 different bands, some of them signed, some of them not, fighting that battle all the way through my 20s basically, and mid 30s really. So, Jennifer says, I was in my 20s, speaking of my 20s, because I was talking about how I was lazy in my 20s, but I actually was working too. She says, some of the most detailed-oriented guitar players and musicians are the hardest on themselves. You're allowed to dick around in your 20s. I did. I dicked around in my 20s, but I also worked really hard. I did. I shouldn't say that all I did was dick around. The first band I was in, I was working a minimum wage job and teaching, doing whatever I could, and then demoing like 50 songs, and trying to get record deals and stuff like that. And it was character building. Chumbucker do I recommend for Stratocaster in the bridge? The Thornbucker Plus is my choice. Any thoughts on intonation and traditional 3-saddle telly bridges? Well, there's a few out there that you can get that have this. There's great options out there. Just look for ones that are intonation compensated. I'm not sure what they use on the Sirs. Maybe they're Wilkinsons, or I don't know. But you can get different bridges that have the saddles kind of bent so that they work, even on the traditional telly setup. So look into something like that. Maybe Tone Pros has them, Wilkinson. There's probably some folks out there that have suggestions that they can offer in the chat. Why do guitar players set their amps up behind them, pointing at their calves? Well, an amp feels good coming from behind you, no matter what. But yeah, pointing at your calves can be an issue. Although it feels good. But yeah, certainly it's like a good idea sometimes to angle. I used to use a hockey stick. Which is, it looked cool too. But I'd have 2 12 cabinets, and I'd just put the stick under the front, and then the stick would be coming up at the end. You know what I mean? And just angled the cabinets up enough. It was perfect. But a little bit of angles on the cabinet is a good thing to get the sound headed towards your ears. Gotta go soon, you guys. It's 1:03, so I'll just go a few more minutes and then gotta jet. Just a few more questions. Phil McKnight got an email about his bass being ready to ship. I haven't. I got to hit up, you reminded me, I got to hit up Warwick, because I ordered a bass when I was at the Warwick factory, and I really want to get one. And yeah, I don't know, so I'll trying to remember to do that this week. Hit up the folks at Warwick and say, where's my bass? I ordered one at GitCon. I was so impressed with their operation. And I keep forgetting I never put up my factory tour video of the Warwick factory, so I should make that because I have it ready to go on a drive. Well, it's not ready. I need to edit it, but I'm going to do that this week. You know, they gave me some awesome factory tour, and that was what really sealed the deal for me, was going on that factory tour and seeing how they build instruments. Then I had to order an instrument from them, and a bass is what I ordered. Okay, let's see. Sorry, the chat's kind of moving around a little bit here. Not to be cliche, but all that time you wasted in your 20s contributed to who you are now. Definitely. I had a good time in my 20s. I was living, you know, bouncing around, like living different parts of LA, doing different stuff. I had a lot of fun, like, you know, in my 20s. Oh, there was the chat again. Okay, guys. Well, it doesn't matter because I gotta go anyway. So I'm just gonna take the last few questions here, and I'm sorry if I missed your question. Tried to get to most of them that I could this week. Okay, best 212 for a 412 sound. Well, you know what I'm gonna say, because that was really what I was going for with my PT cabinet. But it is cool. It's a deep. So the PT 212, we were going for the big sound without making it overly large. Because I had a Bogner oversized 212, great sounding cabinet, kind of big. You know, it's almost the size of a 412. So the PT's smaller in the overall dimensions, but it's deep. We tried a few different depths to kind of try and nail it, and to me, it does the big thing, not really well. So I love that cabinet. It's a nice size. Unfortunately, you never see me use them in videos and stuff because they're always out on the road. Like right now, both my PT212s are in Japan because I'm going back over there in a little while. So I shipped them out there. So I never have one. I only have two, and they're my road rig. So I don't have one actually in the studio, which is, I'd love to have one, but they're sitting in Tokyo right now in a warehouse. Are there any gigs I have said no to? Sure. Or like I had to turn, I won't say what it is, but I had to turn down something this week just because of the scheduling conflict. But, you know, there's different things come up, like monies and right, or, you know, scheduling conflicts. Generally, I like to explore everything, though, and get all the details about a gig, and then it's always nice to be offered a job and then maybe decide if it's right for you or not, rather than not get offered a job. Yeah. Okay. Oh, John's here somewhere. John Sir is in the chat. I wonder if he's still hanging. Somebody was asking him a question. Pete Townsend? Absolutely. Love it. He was my original guitar influence. What non-guitar oriented music inspires you? Well, I like electronic music a lot, to tell you the truth, like good electronic music. I mean, kind of years ago, I sort of got into bands like listening to just super chill out kind of stuff, you know, be it like Air, I love Air, or like 07, or like bands like that. It was just nice to listen to something that wasn't so mid-range all the time. Nice to get, you know, if you've been working on guitar and stuff, to listen to something else. So that's cool for me. Or even like Massive Attack or stuff like that. I really enjoyed all that stuff. More chiba, chill out electronic kind of stuff. And then I brought it up a few times, but like the Beck albums, the Sea Change album, as well as Morning Phase. I mean, there's guitar on those records, but they're not guitar records, guitar-oriented records, really. They're like, you know, just beautiful music. Okay, let's see. John's here somewhere. John, are you out there? Gotta say hi to you before I go. We were talking on the phone earlier. And everybody be nice to John. He's having a busy weekend. Got lots going on. Have I tried the Earthquaker Devices Palisades? I have. That pedal, super cool. It's a tweakable tube screamer, basically. Really cool pedal, actually. Really, really great. Tips for advancing yourself when you don't know what to do, just turn on YouTube. And, go to Jam Track Central, actually, is my advice. And buy a lesson from, like, Mateus or Laurie Basilio or, mine, if you so desire. And just pick up, when I download something, you'll pick up some cool licks and stuff. And they've got some nice, simple, awesome, quick, easy to digest lessons on there that are great. So, Wise Guy says maybe John needs to send Pete a cab just for the studio. I mean, it's a quality problem to have. I'm just always they're just always out on tour. Where's John? There you are, Pete. I'm here. John, what's up? How are you doing? Okay, John, ask me a question. Anything. What kind of coffee am I drinking? I gotta go soon, but John says, stuck in the rabbit hole of chat. Well, you guys could continue on and stay in the... Which John, sir? Somebody says. It's the legendary rock and blues and metal and R&B guitar builder, John, sir. I don't know why I said that exactly like that. But yeah, no, John, is Pete still way back in the comments? No, I'm down at the bottom now. I can see your latest comments. I've moved all the way to the bottom. John says, sup. That's what John says when you call him on the phone, by the way. Sup. He always says that. All hail John, sir. Everybody be nice to him. Ask him questions. I can go and you guys can continue on, I think. Stay in the chat and just ask John questions. How are the blackbacks, says Patrick? They're great. Really good. They sound all that I could have hoped for. Do I think gear is a rabbit hole? You tell me. You make the guitars, man. We were talking about that this morning, about how it's kind of a quality problem, but it's like what should I get? This, that, or that? We talked about it a bit already in the show here. It's like it can be confusing, and it's like it's like very bunch of different shades of good, really. And that's the world we live in. Have you ever played a vintage Epiphone like the Beatles played? No, but I have a great story about one, and then I'm going to go. So one day I was in Voltage Guitar in Hollywood, and there was this Epiphone Casino in there that was really nice. It had flat wound strings on it, just like, Epiphone Casino, Beatles style. And Robin Ford came in while I was in there, and he came in and he wanted to try this Casino and try it out. And Lloyd, who owned Voltage Guitar, if anybody remembers Lloyd, maybe some people out there have met him. Robin's like, it's got flat wounds on it though, Lloyd. I want to hear it with round wounds. Oh, Robin, can you why are you always such a pain in the ass? That's what Lloyd was saying. And he's like, and Robin's like, well, I want to hear it with round wounds. I can't tell what it's saying. And I said, I'll change the strings. I used to work for Lloyd, and I used to, it's like, I'll change Robin Ford's strings. So I went in the back with the Casino and set it up on the guitar tech station. I said, no problem. And Robin came in the back and sat down, and we rapped for about 15 minutes while I changed the strings on this Casino. And I said, dude, I've stolen all kinds of licks from you. I bought your instructional courses. The least I could do is change your strings. So he sat there, and we had a great conversation while I changed the strings on this Casino. This is in the mid-2000s at some point. Now, he has that guitar, I think, still to this day, and unless it's a different one, but it's exactly the same. He bought it, and I think he's used it as like his only guitar on certain records. So I loved that I was able to meet him and rap for a few minutes and just be kind of starstruck, but be his guitar tech for a second. I guitar tech for Robin Ford for 20 minutes once. Okay, you guys, I gotta go because I got some appointments I gotta get to. So everybody have an awesome week, and I'll see you next Sunday, same time, same place. John, please come back next Sunday. Everybody take it easy. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I do. And y'all take care. All right. Word out.